14 practices done, and obviously tomorrow get to finish it up. I think you find yourself, okay, well, what did we get out of spring? Was it a good spring? And even for individuals. And I think the real key to that is, what do we take from what we did in spring, and how do you carry it forward? Obviously it's valuable for every guy that gets reps. And a lot of guys are able to get a lot of reps. That you take what you did this spring, and then how do you learn from it? How do you build on it? And spring is always a time that it's unique in that you focus on the individual as much as you do the team. So where are we as a team? Team's made up of individuals, so it's what we take from this individually, and then how do you put it together? And obviously, we had some guys that didn't go the whole spring or didn't participate in the spring at all that we think will be important for our success in the fall. You think about like Keanu and Isaiah didn't finish at the end, and we had three backs that I think can help us, in Ches and Isaac and Ship, and they weren't able to go. A couple tight ends, right? But it was. I appreciate the work that's gone into it so far by the players and the coaches. But really, the value of spring is, what do we get out of it, and how do we apply it to go forward?
We talked at the beginning of spring. I know quarterback is just one facet of the offense, but you talk about turnovers, being more efficient with the ball. Do you have enough pieces on offense? Do your quarterbacks have to be spectacular next year? I mean, the position, or are they just efficient? Is that enough for this team?
Well, I think you certainly have to be efficient, and that can lead to. You can't be the other stuff without being efficient, without taking care of the ball. And I thought, throughout spring there was times and days where it was good, and I thought there was times where it got. Where you say that can't be, and if it's reinforced in April, okay. But I think there's also a false, talking about quarterbacks, really any position, that there's a false reality, and you can't keep making the same mistakes. And I was disappointed. You got today we have a quarterback center exchange. There are takeaways from a defense, and there's times when offensively you give it away. And to me, whether it's that or a controlled penalty, an offsides or an illegal procedure, right? Those are controllable. And so I think if you're going to be a good team, you got to do that. Going back to the quarterbacks, I think that, if I don't know, I mean, maybe that is spectacular when you're using all your guys and you're taking good care of the football. And there's no doubt if you're going to play the quarterback position, there are times where you've got to give guys a chance to make a play, but you got to be consistent. And I thought, Graham and Chase got the most reps this spring, and I thought there was times where they were really good at it, and there's times where they obviously got to learn from it, just like last year, some good and stuff you got to learn from if we're going to give ourselves a chance.
Maybe spectacular was a bad word. I just wondered if your guys just take care of the ball and move the chains and make the plays that are needed, will that be enough given the weapons that you have around them?
Yeah, I mean, and the weapons have to rise up, but I think that's part of playing quarterback. I go back, was Scotty a spectacular quarterback? Tolzien, through 73%. Russell, where Russell was different, what he did when the play broke down. You look at the quarterbacks, that have been quarterbacks of really good teams. I would argue they were better than maybe what the perception was, so I think that is, if you're playing it that way and if you're allowing all your team, offensively and defensively, that's pretty dang good play.
Quarterbacks were very complimentary of what Keller has brought to the room. What kind of expertise have you seen him bring to that room? What do you make of him as a coach and the things he's been able to do in a very short time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's here, and like a lot of, when I say that, I think, okay, is it any of the coaches, you're glad that your players have a chance to, if there's stuff they can learn from him, right? And then he's played the game, so I think there's an understanding of that, you know, and you know, I think they've got a lot. Our quarterbacks have a lot of resources right now, and the thing I appreciate from them is they'll use them. Now we all got to do our part, coaches and players, to make that positive and to positively impact, you know, the individual player, and which really is only as good as you impact the team.
Well, what have you learned about these new coaches that you have on your offensive side right now as you've gotten to work together more closely here over the last month on the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, been able, what I've learned, you know, I mean, I've had a chance, I've worked with Al before, worked with Bobby before, you know, certainly, you know, I've worked with Bo, you know, for a long time, and you know, there have been maybe different roles, but, you know, I think the biggest thing is, you know, players are getting to know them too, and they're getting to know the players, and it's kind of like we talked about with the players, you know, what's the value of spring? The value of spring is what do you take from it, and how do you carry it forward, and I think that's what's most important.
We were talking before about some of the guys.
Rock, paper, scissors, let's go, let's see it right now.
I'll lose. We were talking before about
Jeez.
some of the guys. I'm not ashamed, I'm not an athlete anymore, I can't win that either. Guys who haven't been able to practice this spring. Stephon Bracey's one of them, but he has given you some big moments on the field. When he is healthy, what does he add to the group, both a special teams player and potentially?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt, you know, Brace is one of those guys that you want to see him on the field because you think he can give this team something, you know, as you said, and whether it be special teams or at the receiver positions, you know, and I think the one thing that, you know, there's not, I don't know that we got one guy, you know, I feel real strong about this. I don't think we got one guy that wants to miss, you know, and yet, you know, he really didn't play a lot last year, you know, and then I think he had 2 practices this spring, you know, but Brace is a guy that's got some abilities to him, you know, and you know, he's got to then take now, kind of what we talked about, how do you take what's happened in the fall, what's happened in the spring, and how do you use that, and how am I training, and what am I doing? Because the only time you can really add value is when you're out and playing. And it's not that he's choosing not to, right? But you know, how can we help him? Again, how do we as a program help them? And what can they take away to learn? Because we still believe he's a guy that could, but you got to go do it.
I think in the past, spring has been used as like a place where you can prove yourself and have an opportunity then
Right.
in fall, right? Like you do stuff here and then you can take advantage of it.
I think so.
Is there any few guys who may have stood out to you that have done that this spring, that have put themselves in a position to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, you look at it, and in the D line, you know, pretty much the guys that, you know, the first few, you know, Keanu, Isaiah, Rodas, you know, James, you know, we were expecting that, and I think I thought, you know, Townsend had a good spring going, and I think that was really important for him. So you're going to kind of see, okay, and I think he sees it too, right? That, you know, you just talked to him when I was last year, and I kind of knew I didn't know it, and you feel the certainty of it. I think the inside linebackers, you know, that has kind of played itself out to where, you know, certainly in spring, you can go down in each position. In spring, you have a rep chart, right? Who's going to get the reps? And you want to try to balance it as best you can. You really don't have that luxury. I think that's why springs can get a little bit, you know, some of the details not there. And for us, we'll choose to sacrifice some of the detail, you know, playing together and kind of seeing some and getting more reps, because you want everyone to get reps. And who are we to say which ones should be getting it, right? You want the film to do it, and that's also part of their growth, you know. And again, I still think it's okay. What do you do in spring is a piece of it, but then what do you do in the summer? But there are no question we're going to be adding some more guys to this team, and the reps are going to go to some of them. So you're going to have some receivers or DBs or linebackers or tight ends where you know, they're not going to get as many reps, and so that's why I think the value of spring is did I put myself in a position to get a lot of reps and keep going, or am I kind of in that I'm sharing reps? And so I think probably you look at that, each position, you think of O-line, there's some, receiver, running back, they talk about we're going to add some guys to it. I think that's probably what it is you're now in a position where you're guaranteeing kind of your reps, or you're going to be sharing your reps. It's not to say the door's closed, and we're going to need everyone, but I think that, in the fall you got to get ready to play, and that's where you need more reps in the precision and the details. A guy makes a mistake, in the spring, and you're like, okay, you got to learn from it, and in this fall you got a little bit of that, but they should be learning. We don't have time as a team and as a player to have a spring ball again in fall camp.
Well, you mentioned the 3 tailbacks who've been out with
Yeah.
injuries. On signing day, you said, hey, I'm comfortable with the guys that we've got at tailback.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still comfortable that way, or is it possible, I know with the transfer portal,
Right.
things are so fluid, is there a possibility you're going to add someone at that position?
I mean, honestly, I'm excited about that group.
Okay.
And I've appreciated the way that Isaac and Ches and Ship have attacked kind of this. They didn't get to go through spring, but I really don't think at all that they cheated themselves in the preparation. I think that fortunately, Ship's played a lot of football. So I thought last spring was really important for Ship. And then it gave him a position, and so and he's one that when you're kind of as you'd expect, he's into it and learning from it, and I think certainly Ches played a lot, and I think you never want to see anyone go through what he did, but I think he's done a great job of channeling kind of his energy and his competitiveness and what he's done in the weight room, and now the more he can run, and I think he'll come out of it in some ways better, and then Isaac, always been really excited about Isaac, and I think part of it is I get the energy from them, right? And they're excited about what they've done and where they're at, and so, Braylon, first spring, and I thought Julius did a nice job of kind of trying to maximize his opportunities there, so I do feel good about that group.
Not to diminish Isaac or Brady or any of the other guys, but would you agree that last year when you guys were in that stretch where you were winning games, that when Braylon and Ches were together, that was your most effective?
That was better, right? And then all of a sudden Ches goes down and starts to wear on Braylon, and it really wore on a lot of them. I mean, all of a sudden you're down to kind of leaning on 2, and it really took Julius was kind of through that. Could he come and could you go, and so that whole group should be. And I think they're taking the strides and being a better group. The names aren't changing, but now we've got to keep them healthy, right?
You've got a lot of cornerbacks who have gotten attention. One who may not get a lot off the field is Amon Williams, but it seems like when there's a play happening, you know about it. Do you like the fire that he brings and the skill set?
Yeah, and I think what you said is an accurate assessment. I mean, you notice him, right? And he puts himself in position to be noticed. He loves playing, and there's a guy that's worked through a ton of he's worked through all the different things to put himself in this position, and continues to work at it, and certainly does bring a great energy to it, and so I think you're absolutely accurate in what you're seeing, right? I mean, there's a guy that shows up, and I think he loves to compete, and that it does rub off on guys, and that I'm grateful for the way he approaches it.
Logan Brown being at right tackle, a veteran who's been there for 14 practices. Through this time, just how have you seen him progress at that position, locked down at that spot, and where do you still want him to see him grow in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those where what did he do? He got a lot of reps, and there's times they were good reps, and then there's times when you got to be better than that. So what is he going to? Logan's a perfect example. What are you going to take from spring, and how can you work on it in the summer, and then when fall comes, all right, where are we at with it? And again, I'm excited. It means something to him. He works at it, and so this is a starting point. But they're all steps you got to take, But he's got to. You can't just ride out. No guy on this team can just. All right, spring's over. I'm just gonna get myself in shape. I'm gonna be ready to go for fall.
Is there a particular strength or something that you feel like Ricardo Hallman does that kind of separates him or makes him, somebody that you can trust back there?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's putting himself in a position where you can trust him, and I think that really stems from he's trusted himself. He's going out and he's playing, and certainly, all these guys you wouldn't bring them if you didn't think they had talent, and now it's clicking again. A guy that works at it, it means something to him, and I think when you see them feeling like they're, when they have confidence in themselves, you're going to play better, and you're going to play at a consistent level, and that's been showing up. Yeah, he's got stuff he's got to continue to work on, but I thought he's had a really good spring.